Good Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us for Unscripted, the first one of 2026. It's been a while, so happy New Year as we start off on a fresh foot. Speaking of New Year, there could be some potential new weather patterns moving into the area, maybe even some temperatures in the 40s this week, Joe? Possibly?
Yes. I think 30s tomorrow for most, but then on Thursday, maybe a few 40s. So I think a little bit of melting coming up, which we already have seen today. In fact, we had some rain in some areas earlier, Melissa, especially south of a Traverse City Alpena line. That's kind of moving out. But looking ahead, we have more rain on the way in those 40s. And then we also have some snow too. So we'll look at that. If you have weekend plans, you might want to keep an eye on the forecast here. I'll be back with that in about 15 minutes or so.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. A program that provides What's Better Days is in Benzie County, Manistee counties, and the surrounding areas. UpNorthLive's Cody Bear caught up with one of the founders of the program who says this program fills a need.
It's the children. They get me out of bed every day. I tell people all the time, like, I learn more from them than they learn from me.
That's Tiffany Whedon's motivation to start Better Days ABA.
ABA works for anyone because it's about behaviors. Unfortunately, insurance companies, things like that are behind times and do specify. So typically it's advertised as services for autism, developmental delay, Down syndrome, things like that.
Whedon says the results of applied behavior analysis for those folks are seen every day in this field.
Children in our therapy say their first words, they might be 7 and they're finally able to request a bottle of milk or to go play with a friend or even develop friendships.
1, 2. Nice work. I love how you counted.
Whedon says the program is child-led and typically in home or community-based. She tells me it helps to meet the children in their environment.
It wasn't just like a random truck play. Oh, what's that? A TV. It's a, hey, do this, of naturalistic, we're learning how to jump the car over things, or hey, we have a bunch of different dinosaurs. Can you show me where the red dinosaur is?
What color? Red.
We're using what motivates them. We're using the things they like so that they're contacting reinforcement and enjoying what we're doing. I kind of like to say, we don't want them to know it's therapy.
Whedon has been working as a board-certified behavior analyst since 2020. When looking for work in the area of Benzie and Manistee counties, these services weren't widely available.
I kept coming across jobs in Traverse City, jobs in Cadillac, jobs in Ludington. So if anyone's seeking services in my direct area, they have to drive an hour just to get those services.
So she saw a need.
By us kind of getting this practice up and going, we are able to now serve anyone that has commercial insurance because otherwise they didn't have access to services without going to those bigger areas.
And that's why the name Better Days really has a couple meanings.
We want to ensure other staff also have better days, as a lot of ABA companies are being taken over by private equity. And then ultimately to our clients, we want to ensure they're having better days, as our goal ultimately is for them to be more independent and live the best life they can.
And thanks to Cody Bear for that report. Joining us now on Unscripted is Tiffany Whedon, one of the founders behind Better Days. Tiffany, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you being here.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start with your expertise with all of this. You have 7 years in applied behavior analysis. So you have an idea of how a program like Better Days is necessary.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that last part.
That's okay. No. I was just saying you have 7 years experience in applied behavior analysis. So you understand why a program like Better Days is necessary. You understand why it's critical for children.
Yes, it's super beneficial, especially like we mentioned in the clip, those with autism or developmental disabilities. It's an individualized therapy service. So we meet the children where they're at and support them in learning in ways that best suit their needs.
I love that. You're meeting them where they are. And part of that is actually coming to their home, their environment where they feel comfortable.
Yeah, my co-founder and I find it very important that we are able to meet the families in their environment where they're comfortable, where they're having their day-to-day struggles at, so that we can tackle those issues head on instead of worrying about working on them in a controlled environment such as a clinic and then have to go through even further steps of generalizations across their naturalistic environments.
And you did explain a little bit too in the report that Cody worked on about supporting families in rural or underserved communities. Why is that something that you felt was necessary?
Yeah, that's something I've been passionate about since graduating college. You go to big towns, Detroit, Traverse City, Grand Rapids, and there's plethora of companies. Although those companies still have long wait lists, our kids in rural areas typically aren't able to access services at all because it's a long commute, or they might even have transportation issues that prevent them from even accessing services, even if they did live in the bigger area. So I've always been passionate about the smaller communities that need the same amount of support just as any other big community does.
And what is the age range? Are we talking, toddlers through middle school? Is there a cutoff or, a main focus with age groups?
Yep. So they already need to have a diagnosis. So it can be as early as 1, depending on if they receive that diagnosis and signed off by an MD. And then we typically go to age 17. That's due to insurance issues. There is companies out there that do service adults. But like I said, it gets a little weird with different funding sources and things like that. So we advertise at Better Days AB Day that 17 and below, as long as you already have a diagnosis.
And if someone were to ask you, what is the mission of Better Days, what would you tell them?
Yeah, our mission is to really just help any individual have more independent days and seek the best life they possibly have, and doing it in such a way that we're transparent and meeting them where they're at and making sure everything is socially significant, so that we're not working on something just to work on something. It's something they're going to use to ensure their days to come are better.
And how does it work? Is it part of their academic curriculum? Do you work on schedules with parents to see what will work best for the student?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, everything's individualized. A child might get an assessment done and we say, they clinically only need about 10 hours of services, or another child might need 40 hours of services. So it's on working with the family of how can we get their clinically recommended hours in throughout your day today without making it a barrier or hassle. So we can come to the home, we can go to daycare. If the schools allow us, we can meet them in the school. After school time, on the weekends, so that we can access grocery time if they're typically having tantrums while you're trying to get your grocery shopping done. Great, let's go out and just integrate into your schedules so we are supporting you as naturally as possible.
What are you hearing from families that you're working with about this program?
Yeah, everyone is super excited because there is that big gap that we keep talking about, that just there isn't services around. So any support they can get or receive, they're just super thankful to have and eager to continue on.
What are you most proud of with how the program is started and where it is now?
Yeah, so we are still rather new. We're just finishing up final steps with most of the insurance companies. So we're really just at ground zero. So there's a lot to come and a lot to grow. Being in my experience, I have ran programs in Tennessee and whatnot. So I'm excited to just bring all of that knowledge and experience. I've supported other rural communities outside of my town and bring them to my community and see the growth and continue just spreading the word about what ABA is and how we can support and ensure people are aware of these services and get the support they need or want.
And if parents, students, even anyone watching wants to get involved, wants to get their child involved, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, the best way is to go onto our website, www.betterdaysaba.com. You get to see what services are, frequently asked questions, who me and my co-founder are, and you can fill out a referral there. We have our contact information, so you can send us an email at info@betterdaysaba.com or give us a call.
And you mentioned this too briefly, Tiffany. Anything as far as medical insurance, can people rely on that for any type of coverage with Better Days?
Yes, so we primarily serve people with commercial insurance, so Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, all of the other ones that I can't think of at this moment on the spot.
That's okay.
Yep, and also Medicaid too. There is a few extra steps or barriers. Is if you have Medicaid, you have to get in contact with the local community mental health person, and then they can get us connected. But those are the main source for paying for our services. We do have self-pay options, but typically it's through the insurance company, so this way parents don't have to worry about a bill.
Sure. Excellent. Tiffany, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what you're doing for our community here and for the families who need these services. If you would like more information, including any information that Tiffany mentioned with the insurance and how the program works with Better Days, all of the information is posted on our website, UpNorthLive.com. Sticking with the idea of being able to receive the necessary medical care in your community, we want to know, how far have you had to drive for medical or therapy services? That's our question of the day. You can check out our Facebook page, Up North Live, and our website, UpNorthLive.com. Let us know your thoughts. We have some options there that you can pick from. We'll check out those responses coming up a little bit later in the show. In the wake of the child care fraud scandal in Minnesota and federal actions to freeze funding nationwide, a top Michigan Republican is calling for the State Department that hands out the money to be investigated. Up North Live's Remington Hernandez spoke with him and has a response from the agency.
In a letter to the Auditor General on Friday, Senate Republican leader Eric Nesbitt, who is also running for governor, called the reports out of Minnesota and other states troubling and says he wants a microscope put on Michigan. Michigan's Child Development and Care Program supports low-income families, providing access to child care and after-school programs. Recent data shows more than 48,000 children benefit from it, and Nesbitt says it got $540 million this year.
Hardworking families here in Michigan work too hard for their dollars, for it to go to waste, fraud, and abuse in Lansing. We have to hold people accountable.
Nesbitt alleges Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration has a record of oversight failures, pointing to pandemic-era unemployment fraud totaling $8.5 billion. He urges the auditor to act.
We need to make sure that every dollar is accounted for here in Michigan. We can't wait until all the money's gone for people to start asking questions. I'm asking questions now.
The child care program is administered by the Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential, which said in a statement that their programs are subject to regular oversight, including annual state and federal audits, adding that they have a zero-tolerance policy for fraud. And that, quote, the department will take strong action against anyone who tries to abuse funds meant to support families. But Nesbitt says some incidents are already coming to light. You've heard anecdotes that there might be some waste, fraud, and abuse in the child care system here in Michigan?
I've actually heard from child care folks, some folks that have worked in the industries, in other conversations are saying, look at this, look at that. This needs to be uncovered.
Nesbitt plans to turn over reports he's received to the Auditor General. Michigan Democratic Party Chair Curtis Hertel, however, blasted Nesbitt's efforts as an attempt to distract from his record of, quote, making it harder for parents to get affordable child care. I reached out to the Auditor General's office, which told me they did receive Nesbitt's letter, and they are now evaluating it to determine their next steps. At the Capitol in Lansing, I'm Remington Hernandez reporting.
All right, stay right here. Chief Meteorologist Joe Charleboy takes a look at some increase in temperatures, maybe even some rain moving into the area. All of that coming up after the break.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted here on Up North Live. I have to say, I almost laughed today, Joe, driving into work because I had my windshield wipers on, and I thought, wait a minute, it's January, but it's raining outside. So it's a mixed bag right now with weather.
Yeah, it is. We've had, in some cases, some rain today in our southern. In fact, still raining in some areas. A little freezing rain, and then not a lot of snow. Although I think tonight a little band of snow too. So you're right. It's kind of just about everything out there, and some fog too. The one thing we don't have: clear skies and sunshine or stars. They're up there. I'm just going to get above the clouds. I look in Petoskey, our Holiday Inn Express and Suites camera, 33 degrees, hardly any wind, cloudy, kind of murky though. You can tell it's just a damp night across much of northern Michigan. Now, here's what happened earlier today. There's the rain. The pink shaded areas is where we did have a little bit of freezing rain, although I did take a look at icing reports. There really weren't many, if any, across northern Michigan, but there was a little bit of a light glaze. That's moving out. Dry now at Alpena, Grayling, Houghton Lake, Mayo, Gladwin. You're about to see the rain and light freezing rain coming to an end. And then up here, this is a band of snow ahead of a cold front, which is working and advancing across the UP and northern Wisconsin. So this is going to bring a quick round of snow later tonight, like around midnight-ish. Not a lot of accumulation. It'll pass through, but for a brief time, we are going to get a little bit of snow later tonight. And there's that front. You can see it near Lake Superior tonight. The low pressure system that brought rain and kind of a messy situation to our southern counties near Detroit, that low continues to move away. There's a look at visibility, and we'll deal with some fog tonight. Notice Mackinac Island right now at a half-mile visibility, at least at the airport there. Alpena also down to about 1.5 miles with fog. So here comes that band of snow tonight right there. This is at midnight. That'll pass by morning. And then we actually have 2 quiet days for travel and things like that. Wednesday and Thursday. Cloudy in the morning. Will be socked in with clouds tomorrow. But maybe later in the day, see a few breaks in the clouds there late tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise dry. And the same thing kind of on Thursday. Clouds, maybe a little sunshine filtered through them Thursday. Dry weather tomorrow, dry Thursday. And then here's what rolls in Thursday night. Rain. And, you know, we are in northern Michigan. You don't think rain in January at night, but that's going to be the case Thursday. Probably just rain. Overnight, a wet night, melting. And then that ends early Friday, and Friday looks pretty quiet. So there's the rain coming in Thursday night. Some spots maybe up to a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch of rain dousing the area. And then Saturday into Sunday, we expect some snow. Probably later Saturday, snow sweeps in here. We'll probably see snow Saturday night into Sunday. Right there could be a bit of a snowy, messy weekend across northern Michigan. So there's the weekend. Snow arriving in the afternoon Saturday, upper 20s to upper 30s, and then snow tapers off late on Sunday. Tonight, upper 20s, mid 30s, lingering rain and snow showers, some fog tonight. And then tomorrow, cloudy skies, just quiet, nondescript day in the UP, 33 at Drummond Island. Sheboygan, a degree warmer, 34. Petoskey as well, mostly cloudy skies. Again, any sun, if we get lucky enough to get a little bit, will be in the afternoon with a mostly cloudy sky. The extended forecast, cloudy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, some sun possible, and then some snow Saturday and Sunday. And as a result, Melissa, it's going to be a little quieter too, or a little colder over the weekend, back into the 20s.
Yeah, big changes. Definitely keep the umbrellas handy for right now, I guess.
For sure.
All right, thanks, Joe. Coming up, sports director Harrison Beebe brings us wall-to-wall basketball from high school highlights to Big Ten basketball. That's coming up next. Welcome back to Unscripted here on Up North Live. Sports Director Harrison Beebe joins us now.
Hey, Melissa. Yeah, let's talk a little basketball. It's one of my favorite sports, and a lot to talk about. And in particular, I've already covered a basketball game today. Traverse City Central and Traverse City West. They've got a doubleheader going down at Traverse City Central's gym. And here's some highlights from the first game. The girls' game started up around 5:30, and the Trojans looked pretty stellar early on in this one. They led 22-9 after the first quarter, and then we kind of had to jump back in the news car and head back to do the highlights here for the 66:30 newscast. So Central looking good against West. What will happen in the boys game? That's going to come up tonight at 11. But some intriguing dominoes, as we know Central and West both no doubt have goals of winning the Big North Conference. And if you want to do that, you got to beat your rival. And that was the first step for these two in these games tonight. So join us at 11 for more of those highlights. And while we're touching on hoops, let's talk about the Big Ten standings for men's college basketball. Michigan going on the road to play Penn State tonight. And Melissa, the Wolverines, they're firing on all cylinders. Many believe they are the top team in the country. The way the AP Top 25 polls work, Arizona is actually the number one ranked team. But the way Michigan has been blowing out opponents by 30, 40, and in some cases 50 points, a lot of people think Michigan should be getting that love at the top spot. And Michigan State, they're right there in the mix in the Big Ten as well, just one game back after losing to Nebraska last week. They had a huge 29-point win over USC last night. Tom Izzo's 750th win in his history with the program. So we know Izzo knows what he's doing with the Spartans. And at the end of the month, I believe it's January 30th, that last Friday in January, that first meeting of the season between Michigan and Michigan State. I know a lot of fans are looking forward to that. And before we go, it'd be a shame if I didn't mention the Detroit Pistons, after two great tests the last 2 days, remain at the top of the Eastern Conference standings in the NBA, which if you had said this 2 years ago, you would have been flabbergasted, blown away that something like this would have even been obtainable. But here they are coming off wins over Cleveland and New York in back-to-back days. Those were the projected top two seeds in the Eastern Conference entering this season. And they beat the New York Knicks at home by 31 last night. And that's a team that beat them in the playoffs last spring. So hopefully some of that home cooking comes back in their favor this upcoming spring. We'll find that out in a few months. But Pistons right now looking pretty good in the NBA.
Fingers crossed. Nice job. All right. Thanks, Harrison. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the live results for our question of the day coming up after the break.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
And checking out our question of the day. How far have you had to drive for medical or therapy services? We have several responses right now. Mike saying 20 miles to a doctor visit. That's just one way. Brenda says hospital surgeons 70 miles away. Joel says he drives 3.45 hours. Mary says she's only going 5 miles. Good thing for Mary. Susan says takes us about 5 hours to get to the University of Michigan. Penny chiming in saying, Susan, same here, but longer now because of construction. Anne is saying she has to drive to Ann Arbor. Let us know your distances that you drive. Check out our Facebook page, Up North Live, and our website, UpNorthLive.com. Thanks for tuning in tonight to Unscripted. We hope to see you back here for Up North Live News at 11. Have a great night.